He hails from an iconic Alabama family that churned out some of the best football players in the state. There was something in the Goode family that made them faster and better than everyone else. Kerry Goode went beyond Alabama to the NFL, but it was years after the game that he began to struggle, and the strength that he always counted on started to slip away.
That look at it thing like his does it. We just get it up the best way we can.
This is Kerry Goode's exercise routine, an effort to stem a tide that has turned against him.
Booting us into the second period. His end-over-end kick will come down to Goode at the 1, across the 10, the 15, speed, and he's gone!
A gifted and humble running back.
Goodbye, Kerry Goode!
Kerry Goode was the pride of Town Creek, Alabama. He and all 4 of his brothers played for the University of Alabama. Kerry would go on to play and coach in the NFL for 11 years.
It's hard to imagine being in this position, even harder to be here and can't get out of it. Started out with breathing issues.
There were chronic sinus infections, weakness, cramps, weight loss. Kerry's wife, Tanja, saw the change in her husband one day through the kitchen window.
I saw him in the yard cutting grass, and I noticed that his entire posture was different.
After a string of doctor's visits, they were led to the devastating reason for the changes, ALS.
He really doesn't have an appetite. He just eats because he knows he needs to.
When we were first with Kerry in the spring of 2017, getting dressed on his own was a 2-hour affair. A brief walk,
We making it.
exhausting. He needed help to breathe.
I lost almost 60 pounds initially. You know, I go from 230 pounds, guy that played football. At one point I could bench 400 pounds, squatted over 800. Now I can't pick up a glass of water.
It's a disease that comes on out of the blue. The nervous system starts to break down. The way it breaks down is by pulling the nerve fibers or the wires that wire us together away from the muscles. And so what happens when your muscles aren't connected? Same thing that happens when the light bulb isn't connected to the wire anymore. It stops working.
Dr. G, how are you?
How are you? Hello, my dear.
Hi, dear.
No worse for the wear. I'll be okay.
No worse for the wear?
Yeah.
It has been 15 months since we were with Kerry. The losses are expected, but no less devastating. He uses a wheelchair and oxygen full-time. Emory ALS Center Director and Founder, Dr. Jonathan Glass.
Your hands hurt or your arms?
Hands, fingers, shoulders. Yeah.
Does that hurt?
Good.
What I'm doing right now?
Good sore.
His hands are failing him.
So certainly when you're sitting here in your chair, these fingers have to be extended.
What comes next is what Kerry dreads the most, the breathing test.
And blow. Blow, 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 blow. There you go, 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 go. Good. Take a break.
That's a big problem with finding a treatment for this disease, because you don't know what you're shooting at.
There is no diagnostic test for ALS.
We can't see the problem here except for the outward expression of it in people. We can't see it in the spinal cord. We can't see it in the brain.
1 out of 10 ALS patients has a family history of the disease. Over a dozen genes have been discovered, thought to play a role in causing ALS, but there is little that can be done yet for the 30,000 people in the country who have it. Most die within 3 years. Some studies have shown that NFL players like Kerry are at greater risk for brain and nervous system disorders. Could Kerry's career in football have contributed to ALS?
Oh, that's a good question. There are some people out there who argue yes, that somehow this thing called chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, which is a real thing. People who get hit in the head a lot develop, it's usually a dementia kind of syndrome. And they can develop things like Parkinson's disease, and we've known about that for a long time. And if you think about Muhammad Ali, the argument is that he had this kind of problem. We used to call it dementia pugilistica.
Glass, who treats close to 600 patients from around the country, says some questions can only be answered in death.
You know, I'm also a neuropathologist as well as a neurologist, and so I look at all the brains and spinal cords of patients who die. That's what I do. Yes, there are specific protein abnormalities that we see. There's a protein called TDP43, which actually is present in abnormalities, these abnormal protein accumulations in cells, in probably 95 to 98% of cases. In fact, I would argue that's your diagnostic test for this disease, but you can only do it post-mortem. So that's something you see in the brain. You see it in the motor cortex, the region of the brain that degenerates. You see that very prominently. You see it in the deeper portions of the brain called the hippocampus, especially in people who have dementia as well as ALS.
And that's what scientists today understand, that ALS and Alzheimer's and Parkinson's are overlapping diseases, and that a breakthrough in one will be a breakthrough in all of them.
There's something about time and aging that interacts with the nervous system. The nervous system is fragile. It's probably more fragile than many other systems, and it breaks. And it's not that it breaks because there's necessarily something killing it. It may be that we have these homeostatic mechanisms that keeps it healthy. And those things have to be active all the time, all the time. I'm repairing this, I'm making sure this works. And then as you get older, maybe those things don't work as well. Maybe they get a little rusty, maybe they get a little slow. And those normal things that are constantly happening to us every day can't be repaired as quickly. And things start to change, and neurons start to die, and we start to see clinical features of that disease.
Dr. Glass says more pharmaceutical companies and biotech firms are working to develop drugs, and that genetic breakthroughs are helping scientists understand more about how this disease happens. That does not change reality yet for those living with ALS.
It ain't fair, is it?
Well, depends on what you're equated to.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of things ain't fair.
Yeah.
There are bad moments, even bad days.
Sometimes Kerry cry. And usually it's after he discovers he still can't do certain things, like write his own name. However, he just still keeps moving. He doesn't stay in that state very long at all.
Here, close to a field filled with young people pushing to be their best, his daughter among them, Kerry is happy.
The coach in me wants to get out and start correcting all the issues.
Tanja is his full-time caregiver, changing the dynamic of a marriage in which there are no secrets. You never thought your wife would be giving you showers?
Oh, not at all. And she's all over the place, and I have an order of doing things.
An order of washing? She does not respect the washing order?
No, not at all. It's kind of like, hey, head down. From the head down, not shoulder, face. I'm like, oh, God.
Those years in Town Creek, Alabama, prepared him for those years in the NFL, prepared him for now. The pep talk he gave himself before a big game has changed little.
It would be, concentration, more concentration. Stay in the moment. Don't get ahead of yourself. Things go wrong, don't go wrong with it.
Doesn't that hold true for now?
It does. That's one of the things why I like my kids playing sports. That's some of the things that you learn. Accept where you are, embrace it. Don't keep looking back, because it's not coming back.
Kerry Goode is a prime example of resilience. The ability to endure difficult circumstances and still push forward, still have a positive outlook.